Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Top of the Table Tottenham, the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things that you love with those you love to do them with. Guys, what a game. Tottenham Hotspur, as I said, at top of the table, 2 wins from 2, 0 goals conceded, 5 goals scored. Another spectacular effort from the overall team. Really, no one played badly today. And Tottenham Hotspur, well, the fans should be incredibly optimistic. We know that as we speak right now, apparently Tottenham Hotspur Chiefs and Manchester City Chiefs and the agents of Savinho are probably currently sitting down, according to reports, and trying to thrash out some sort of final decision around whether or not Savio will become a Tottenham player this evening or tomorrow. And we don't know what's going on there. We're waiting with bated breath. But I tell you what, the squad today didn't look like it had too much in the way of holes. From the start of the game, I thought the first sort of 25 minutes of the match was pretty much Manchester City's. They had the lion's share of the possession, as you would expect, away from home. But it doesn't matter with Tottenham. We seem to have this stranglehold over Manchester City, particularly at the Etihad. It doesn't seem to really be a place where we go with any fear, regardless of the manager, regardless of who's in the squad. This time today, no Sonny, no Kane, no Decky, all of whom sort of consider that, I guess, their second home in their ability to outperform. Today we had wonderful performances from Mohamed Kudus, Pape Sarr playing in the advanced role, but boy, you wouldn't know it. At times he was playing as a 6, he was playing as an 8, he was playing as a 10, as was Bentancur, as was my Monster 6, João Palhinha. What a difference he has made. And I've always spoken to you guys about our need for a Monster 6 for years, right? We have never really replaced Wanyama. Bissouma was supposed to be the guy. He didn't end up being the guy. And I think Tottenham spent a lot of time sort of making do with what we had in that midfield. But Palhinha, to me, is the solution, like Rodri is to Manchester City. The absence of that sort of player has held us back. And when Man City don't have Rodri, they're a different outfit. No matter how strong the rest of their team is, not having that protective element, it doesn't allow them to be without risk when they sort of gallop forward in the numbers that they do. And obviously Rodri came back in the second half today, returned into the squad, wasn't match fit, but you could tell again that Tottenham Hotspur just have a little bit about them, their confidence to kind of maraud forward at times, albeit under duress of having the pressure against. But in the transition, knowing that you have a Palhinha there who goes a little bit unnoticed, as most Monster Sixes do. Think about Claude Makélélé, think about N'Golo Kante, think about, to a degree, Caicedo at Chelsea in more recent times. They don't really capture the headlines. They're never going to be on the back pages of any newspaper for their performances, but that's because they're the unsung hero. But they do pop up if they're having a good game in the right place at the right time to shepherd things out. And I thought Palhinha today was absolutely sensational. I thought Pape Sarr today was just once again showing this level of intelligence and growth in his game that's coming with, I guess, early tuition from Cochrane and Thomas Frank, but also just, sort of coming of age and his unique specificity, the kind of skill set that he has that is very, very difficult to find. And if you don't have it, and if you do have it, it's impossible to replace. I really do think this guy is coming of age. I've said it 3 times now. I won't say it again, I promise. But the reality is that I think most people think that his ability to read and interpret the game stems from his long legs and his engine. And whilst those things are unbelievably valuable, I actually think this guy has a footballing IQ that is understated. You don't get the interceptions that he can create, and not just in moments here and there, but in basically every game where he's having a good game, he's able to pick players off, pick passes off, and just read that game. That comes from a footballing IQ that I don't think we credit him with having enough of. And he's absolutely sensational. Bentancur, I think Ian Meth always says this, shout out to him, when Bentancur plays well, Tottenham plays well. And again, I thought Bentancur had a really good game today. The midfield battle was a really interesting encounter today. And in the first 25 minutes, I think Manchester City had the edge on it. If I'm entirely honest, it was one of those days where I was thinking, we're hanging on here in the first sort of half an hour. The only kind of real moment I could think of that was sort of meaningful or memorable before we scored in that unbelievable breakaway was was the free kick from Pedro Porro, where we won a couple of chances down the left-hand side. Jed Spence, Jedley King, another absolutely phenomenal performance from him. This guy, for me, is unsellable at this stage. He's so valuable. His ability to again, it's one of these understated aspects of his game that I think people would be sort of struggle to identify, but his ability to know the intentions of the right winger that he's up against when playing off the left. And obviously he wants people to kind of cut in on his stronger side if he can, but there's a very delicate balance, a very fine line between showing the player to their weaker side too much so that they can take it past you, or not showing them enough so that they can get that, they can kick it past you on their strong side and you're not touched tight enough to be able to counteract it. What he does is he stays very fairly tight to the player, but shows them just enough, but not too much of the outside. And when they do cut in, then they cut in on his stronger side and he's able to intercept. I've seen it 3 or 4 games on the bounce in recent times, and I saw it most of last season as well, even when he played in those games under Ange Postecoglou. And I promise you guys, it's so, the difference between too much and not enough is, I'm talking inches here in real time as he's backtracking. It's a brilliant skill set, and I think that he is one of the best at it. And I think, I don't really want to see him too much on the right back side unless we're just doing the rotation because we have 4 competitions to play in. And if we don't manage to get another sort of centre back / versatile kind of defender in there to kind of support, you hope that Pedro Porro is going to stay fit. Once again, Pedro Porro today, look, he had a really tough opening 45 minutes against Omar Mamouche defensively. I think he was sort of cut up a little bit, but Mamouche and City generally, when they did have the ball, were a little bit wasteful. I think the first half was sort of, for me, a little bit wasteful. As if I'm going to sort of describe it, I think both teams had a lot of chances. I remember Jed Spence having a gilt-edged chance to bang the ball into Kudus' channel, overhit it. I think that happened 2 or 3 times. I think Omar Mamouche cut through 2 or 3 times and overhit or underhit the pass. And look, sometimes that thing is just by mistake. It's an unforced error, but other times it's by the proxy of the stress and the pressure that the midfield and the players around the ball carrier is putting on them, and it's like almost a forced error. I'm not sure really where I land on the kind of general take on that, but there was a lot of sort of wastefulness and missed opportunities from sort of sloppiness from both sides. And talking about sloppiness quickly, guys, as I jump through this, I'm going from pillar to post on my overall take here before I get into the goal specifically. But I have to say the referee and the linesman and the VAR today had an absolute mare for both teams. The standout sort of moment for me was when Kudus went through and was clattered by James Trafford, James Trafford was all over the place today, by the way. He didn't look like someone that's ready to fill the shoes of Maddison at all. But apart from a wonderful double save at the end, for 80 minutes or so, I thought James Trafford was a real weak link and a vulnerability for Manchester City. But I thought the referee made a series of errors in a 10 or 12 second period. He didn't see the handball from James Trafford in that moment. He also didn't call a free kick and a yellow card / red card, by the way, because we've seen it happen before, whereby the goalkeeper's out of his box and clatters into the offensive player. It should have been a free kick at least. It could have been a yellow card for the tackle. It could have been a red card for the handball. All of those things were missed. And then just after that, on the right-hand side, there was also a free kick that should have been given. It was just outside the area on another Tottenham player who I forget who it was in this instance. But the referee missed all of them. The linesman didn't help at all. There was a linesman clanger when Romero got a yellow card in the game. He clearly got the ball. He won it absolutely fair and square. The linesman flagged. Romero gets the yellow card for dissent. About 10 minutes after that, there's argy-bargy in the box from a corner kick to Manchester City, and one of the City players is calling for a penalty for a shove that didn't exist. Richalison sort of lashes out a little bit and sort of shoves the guy. I forget who it was. It might have been, was it John Stones or maybe Ruben Diaz? I'm not sure who it was, but whoever that player was is going apoplectic at the referee. The referee waves away the shouts for a penalty, correctly so, but doesn't chastise the player for the dissent there. No consistency at all. By the way, I'm not just pointing the referee's faux pas out against Tottenham Hotspur on the wrong side of that, because I actually thought that, I think you could make the argument that Micky van der Ven should have had a penalty given against him for a stamp or for a sort of a late challenge where basically he put his foot, I think it was on Oscar Bob in at some point during the, I think it was the second half. Would it have been the second half? Yeah, I think it was the second half. And on top of that as well, later on in the game, Bentancur shoves one of the Man City players as they're in transition, the guy goes absolutely flying, and the referee doesn't give anything at all. So I just think that the referee, the linesman, and the VAR made a series of errors today that are uncomfortable to see at this stage in the season. Nothing seems to have changed. I can tolerate sort of human error to a degree, but for me, I felt like for 70 minutes of the game, I was sitting there screaming at the referee. That it's outrageous one-sidedness. But in the second half, there was 2 or 3 moments that I thought that Man City should have had decisions go their way that they didn't as well. So I give like a 2 out of 10 performance, a 1 out of 10 performance to the officials for on today. What I would say, guys, getting back to Tottenham's performance though, unbelievable from Mohamed Kudus once again. Absolutely unbelievable. The guy's an outlet. The guy is a menace. He's a mischief. He's not tall, right? He's not tall, but he's so strong, bodying Reinders in one of the shoulder barges during the game. Absolutely throwing that guy about 3 or 4 foot onto the floor with a fair challenge. He's so tricky, so difficult to get the ball off. And he is someone that if we can keep him fit, then my oh my, the kind of little relationships that's building between him and Richarlison, we saw it against Burnley, we saw it against PSG, and we saw it again today. They have a real nice little chemistry that's building there, and it's something to be very excited about. The concern for me is, of course, if they get injured, if Kudus gets injured, then where is our outlet? Especially if Richarlison is also vulnerable to injuries, or if Richarlison sort of falls back to his old version of himself where his first touch isn't great, then where do Tottenham go in difficult situations? Brennan Johnson, again, look, Johnson again, ole, right? He's someone that he doesn't offer anything meaningful in the game. He doesn't. It's the same story every time, but I genuinely think that there is a stance here where I'm starting to emerge where I think that his weaknesses are actually his strengths. I think that when Tottenham attack, other teams know there's a template that we're going to avoid him because he's not the guy to take on players. He doesn't really offer much with the ball at his feet other than when he's firing a shot. But what I do think is a consequence of that kind of lack of interest that other teams have in tracking him is as a consequence of the fact that they don't see him as a threat. And so when we go down the right-hand side currently and he's on the left, or last season when we were going down the left-hand side via Sonny, etc., and he was on the right, because it's almost like the ability to double up on another man because you're letting another guy go free because you're not threatened by him. I think that the weaknesses in Johnson's game are actually almost like a catalyst for his strengths in that he can sort of be a latent conversion into the box, a late arrival, and then when the ball falls to him, like it did for the first goal from Richarlison, which was an absolutely sensational move, by the way. The way that Kudus started centrally, and I was actually saying to James on my channel, who was watching with me today, I said, look, Kudus is a little bit out of it in the first half an hour. He's too far right. He's not central enough. We're not finding it. We're not getting the ball to him. So he drifted centrally, and then he started this run, which I think it was the Porro long ball. I think it was Porro with the long ball. And Kudus sort of like he does a kind of a parallel run into the right hand channel, jumps, flicks the ball on, unbelievable flick. Richarlison's aware of what's going to happen. He takes he sort of marauds forward, looks up, lots of space, times the run perfectly, by the way, and then whips the ball into a delicious position. And there's Johnson. And if you watch the replay again, no one is tracking Johnson. And that goes back to my point that it's almost like the fact that he's not a threat with the ball outside of that kind of last touch. It's almost as though people aren't tracking him as a consequence of not seeing him as a threat. And that in and of itself is a threat, right? You know, the way that Thomas Frank says, like, if you're not taking risks, that's a risk in and of itself. It's almost like if you're not a threat, then that's a threat with Brennan Johnson. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Let me know in the comment section. By the way, smash the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe. I forgot to ask. Hit the notification bell if you're a happy bunny today like I am. I'm so impressed with what I'm seeing. The versatility and the tactics, the structure, the defensive line, the organization. Thomas Frank is like, he's never silent. He's almost as active in that box, in that technical area as like a Mikel Arteta, just without the kind of obnoxiousness. It's absolutely sensational to see. And just Tottenham work like a well-oiled machine at the moment. I don't know who I haven't spoken about. Romero and Micky van der Ven. I mean, look, Romero today, just absolute chops. The way that he commanded his area, the way that his positional strengths for when the balls were being crossed in when we were under the cosh, sensational. He absolutely bodied Haaland at one point in the game, like he always does, part of his kind of trademark. against Manchester City. He came out with the ball when he needed to. He progressed the ball forward. His passing is sensational. I'm loving this version of Kuti. I'm loving the fact that he's sort of calmed down a little bit and that he has this measured approach to his defense, but he hasn't seemingly clipped that level of aggression. But he's, at the moment at least, it's still early days, but at the moment at least, he's still got that aggression, but it's measured, and that's meaningful to me and significant. Micky van de Ven today. I mean, there's two things I want to say about him. One is that last-ditch sliding tackle when it was looking like it was curtains, when there was a couple of mistakes. I think Porro was caught out. It was a slip, I think, and something happened. And then there's a couple of chances that fell to Manchester City. And Micky van de Ven, that last-ditch sliding tackle, stuff of dreams. The guy is an absolute baller. I've always said, like, sometimes I think his positional sense, his aerial threats, those are the areas of his game that he needs to improve on. But his commitment, his work rate, he's tirelessly engaged in the game. He pays attention, even if he sometimes needs to improve on some of those kind of slightly sloppy areas of his game. But all of those things so far, there's been no mistakes. But second to that, his ability to drive the ball forward with his rangy legs, his ability to kind of gallop past people. For a big guy, for a tall guy that has that pace, he also has the ability to know how to sort of softly kick the ball as he's running the ball through and out of defense. And he takes it past people because he doesn't kick the ball out of his stride. It's remarkable to see someone who plays in his position with his physicality and his attributes also be able to do the things that he does with the ball at his feet. He's not as good a passer as Romero, but certainly if you're looking for a kind of Jekyll and Hyde in terms of value, Romero's an unbelievable passer and he has that menace and that absolute terrorizing aggression about him. But Van de Ven has like this kind of composure and this silkiness about the way that he carries the ball. And again, if those two can stay fit, and then you have the technicality, the discipline, and again, there's a bit of a sort of Jekyll and Hyde with the differences between a Pedro Porro and a Jed Spence. Beautiful things can happen this season. Injuries will of course happen. How bad, how significant, in what format and fashion, we'll have to wait and see. But if we can keep that back four together for a sustainable period of time, and then mix in Udogie when he gets back, and if we do have enough change and time in the window to be able to go and get someone that can also compete, there was no real need to see Danzo. I was expecting to see Danzo today. I haven't even talked about the fact that we started with the back four, by the way. I was absolutely blown away by the kind of gall and the guts and the bravery to go to a 4-3-3 rather than doing the 5 at the back, like I think everyone was expecting. I mean, top coaching, top tactics, top organization from the guys, from Thomas Frank, Cochrane and their team. And the people on the pitch just absolutely put it together. As I say, Palhinha breathes a sigh of relief into the defensive line. It gives them the confidence to maraud forward in their own versions and knowing that he's there. He's never going to be someone that you're going to necessarily notice until you need him. And today he was there every time, especially with the second goal. By the way, for that second goal, I want to give absolute credit to Richalison. It was a great finish from Palhinha. Right place, right time. He took it well. He had no limitations in his confidence. Obviously, he took a deflection. But what happened just before that? Richarlison's composure in that moment to not just put his foot through it when there was bodies everywhere, to try to sort of take it round the keeper, and James Trafford gets down and gets a foot on it, and then not just the kind of build up to it, but then when it fell, for Richarlison to see Palhinha and then to pull back and not be selfish and hand over the sort of responsibility to a 6. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Richarlison was fantastic today. And look, you have to measure his minutes. You have to measure his body. We can't let him go down. Even when Solanke came on, for what it's worth, I know he's getting back to full fitness, a different kettle of fish, Solanke, and he was going into a tired and basically a Manchester City that I thought ran out of ideas very quickly. They were the stronger in the first half an hour, but for the next sort of 70 minutes, we might not have had the lion's share of possession, guys, but we had the lion's share of chances. We had absolute domination over them in every part of the game today. Every single player on that pitch in a Tottenham shirt. The subs, Odegaard was great when he came on. I thought Odegaard was really, really interesting. We had chances to put 3 and 4 past them, by the way. And look, I know people are going to say it's early, and it's absolutely right. I know people will say don't get carried away, and that's absolutely right. You're right to say it, but I'm going to get carried away because that's what we do here. I don't know what do you want from me? Like 6 points from 6, 5 goals, 0 conceded. Bournemouth up next, then a break, and then West Ham. It's a lovely lovely way to start the season, guys. And if at the time of recording, it's 4:35 in the afternoon, if there's a chance to get Savinho done, then, you know, it's a really, really nice way to end this week. It's been a tough week for everybody. And I hope that people recognize that, you know, the players and the team and the squad will be aware of the meltdown that happened on Twitter and on social media. And ultimately, none of us know the details of that whole story. And as I say, I know there's certain people say one thing is the way it played out was fact. Other people that also have connections to, you know, those players, the people that are involved, all tell an entirely different story and present it as fact. None of us know the situation. We did miss out on a guy that everyone would have liked, but there's still time. And if we can get Savinho done, then that's the guy that Thomas Frank wants. For what it's worth, I would make the argument, as I have been doing all day today, that if you look at Kudus and you see the value that he provides, then you can also acknowledge the risk in his absence. You can also acknowledge that without him, we don't have that outlet that can hold onto the ball, that can take players on, that can also be strong and dynamic and incredibly versatile and useful in a bunch of different ways. And so if he goes down injured, where do Tottenham go as a sort of secondary outlet? Like what happened in the PSG game when he came off and Richalison came off and we brought on other players, we didn't have the same sort of output, same sort of outcomes. And so Savinho isn't that sort of player. He's a different sort of player. And I'd love to see him. I would be delighted if we get him done. And it's obviously the player that Thomas Frank has identified. And I don't know how Thomas Frank feels about Ademola Lookman, but what I would say, guys, is that Ademola Lookman and Mohamed Kudus are almost carbon copies. One on the left, one on the right. Both the same size in terms of height. Both have the same sort of ability to control the ball and take players on. Both are absolute units in strong men that can challenge and take on anybody. And so I don't know why Tottenham haven't really been linked strongly with Lookman, apart from the fact that the agents have kind of been shopping him around. But if for whatever reason Manchester City waste any more time for Tottenham today and tonight and tomorrow, then we have to move on. And if we do, I would urge us to look at Lookman, because I think that not only does he offer the same sort of skill sets as what Mohamed Kudus does on the right, and think about that triple threat of outlets for the tough games away from home in the Champions League, etc. Excuse me, itchy nose. But on top of that, he's homegrown. On top of that, he's an output guy. 24 goals, I think it was last season in Serie A. And for those of you that are saying that you don't like him now because you remember him from the Premier League years a few years ago, look, and there's a relevant consideration and concern there. I hear you. And I don't know how it will work out. Maybe he is a horses for courses guy, but he might have just improved his game. Physically, mentally, his confidence and his technicality may have just improved over time. And I would love to see him, because what worries me a little bit is how great we are when Mohamed Kudus is playing at this level. But if something was to happen to Kudus from a fitness perspective, then I don't know if we have the same level of output right now. And Savinho, whilst he would be unbelievable in terms of an increase in our skill set, he doesn't offer the same things as what Kudus does, whereas Ademola Lookman does. And so for me, if we don't get Savinho, I really urge Tottenham to go and figure out a way to make it work with Lookman and Savinho, and Atalanta. But we shall see. But guys, look, top of the table, Bournemouth to come, then a break, then West Ham. 9 days, I think it is, or 8 days left in the window. Hopefully something will drop tonight. Either way, let me know your thoughts, guys. My man of the match was Pape Sarr, but it was a close one. I think 4 or 5 players were all up there. I think shout out to Kudus, shout out to Richie. Richie, 2 goals and 2 assists. I should have put him in my FPL team. Unbelievable start to the season, guys. I couldn't be happier. Let's keep this energy and this momentum going. And let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you later on for some more content. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. And by the way, this is also on Spotify and on Apple Pods. If you do like that sort of platform, then please find us over there. Links are in the description. But give us a 5-star rating and a follow if you can. I'll see you on the next one. Love you all. Come on, you Spurs. 6 from 6. Let's go!